Hey, what's up guys? It's Jonathan with Rev Free Moto. Today we're going to be changing the oil, the break-in oil, in my Janus Halcyon 450. So I've got all my stuff laid out. I think this is all the stuff I need anyway. I've got socket set with a 17mm socket, a 14mm socket, and an 8mm socket. I have my oil filter, which is a KN563. Got that straight from Janus. You can get it on Amazon too, but man, it is so teeny tiny. I'm sure the camera won't show that, but like it is really small. And then I've got 2 liters of 7100 5W40 full synthetic motul motor oil. All right, so 2 liters of that. I've got an oil pan here. I'm hoping it is low enough to the ground, and I've got a couple of different filters that I can use to put the oil in. And then one thing that I still need to grab out of my owner's kit is like a little thing that will help the oil drain out of the engine and not get all over the exhaust. So before I start to drain the oil, the first thing that you got to do is bring it up to operating temperature. So that's a good excuse to take it for a ride for about 10 minutes or so. So that's what I'm going to do. We'll get the oil warmed up and then be right back and start draining it. All right, I am back from taking the bike for a 10-minute ride, 15-minute ride. It's probably a little hotter than I want, but the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to drain the oil out of the oil tank, which is, if you look up underneath of the motorcycle, it's going to be right here. Okay, I don't know, right where the socket is connected to right now. So it's not the other one. The other one is the line supplying oil to the engine. So that's not the one we want. We want this one in kind of at the rear side of the tank, closer to the rear tire. All right, so I'm going to put the camera down to do this so I can move the pan down underneath of it and let it drain out and hopefully not get burned. Trying not to make a mess here. It's very red, very dark red. Still looks pretty amazingly clean. So we'll let that kind of drip as much as possible. I might, because I have the bike on the side stand, I'll probably try to stand it up a little bit and see if it helps it drain a little bit as well. I opened the oil cap a little bit to kind of make sure that it helped the flow, but it's, as you can see, it's pretty much done dripping. I have stood the bike up straight and I've gotten pretty much everything out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and return the nut to the bottom of the oil tank so that I can use this pan to go over and take the oil out of the engine, out of the crankcase. This is a dry sump motor, so part of the oil is in this tank and part of it is in the crankcase itself. I had to drain the oil out of this pan into this larger container for disposal. This plastic washer that goes between the oil nut and the oil tank had come off, and so I needed to retrieve it. So just in case it happens to you, make sure that this plastic washer is replaced, or else you could have a leak. All right, a little bit going on here. So your drain plug for the crankcase is actually here where I have my socket, and I've fitted this metal like little trough that goes underneath of it. That's hopefully to help it come out and not drip on the exhaust and the frame and stuff like that. And this shift lever is bungee corded over here to kind of keep it out of the way. Right now it'll go up, but I had to push it down to be able to get the socket on it. So we'll go ahead and break that loose and then that should drain into the pan in theory. The oil is draining now out of the crankcase, and as you can see, I still dripped on the exhaust even with the handy dandy tool, mainly because the nut was only partially off and some of the flow hit the nut and backsplashed onto the exhaust. So we'll wipe that off in just a moment, but we'll let it drain and then put the drain plug back on. All right, all tight. And now we're going to replace the oil filter. We're going to use an 8mm socket, and we're going to be undoing these 2 bolts here to get to the oil filter. Before I do that, slide my oil pan underneath. Make sure that it's there to catch any oil that might drip out. All right, both these bolts are loose. This one is the forward one is a really long bolt. Okay, and then this one is a short bolt. And then to get this off, it's cool enough I can touch it now, but there's a little bit of a gasket here, so I just need to kind of pry it a little bit, very gently. Make sure it's not too hot to touch. Thankfully I've waited a little while. All right, now I've got it. I've already got some oil on my fingers there just from breaking the seal there. So go ahead and get my rag ready. And there is the old filter. Probably lean the bike over a little bit, try to drip some of that out. But we're gonna take the old filter off and put the new filter on. Gonna tilt the motorcycle just a little bit, get that to kind of drain out there. It's a nice thing about having a nice light motorcycle. Easily tilt this and tilt it back. Here's the new filter, and one thing you can do, you don't have to do this, but some people will, you can put a little bit of oil down inside this filter before you put it on. Got a little bit of oil inside the filter there. Go ahead and place it back inside the housing, and it's actually got a spring in there behind it. You can see when I put the cover back on, it'll actually compress that spring a little bit, but there's a little bit of oil down inside of there. Before I put the cover back on, just take a quick look at the gasket and make sure that all looks good and doesn't appear to be damaged or worn. Remember, the long bolt goes on the forward side and the short bolt goes on the rear side. You want to make sure that when you tighten these down, you tighten them like one and then the other. Don't tighten one all the way down at once. You know, tighten a little bit at a time so you do it evenly. Both of those are tight, not too tight, but got a good seal. Clean this off. And now it's time to put some oil in here. Got the oil cap off, and one thing that Richard Worsham showed me is that if you have a clean dipstick and you don't want to set it down, you can actually stick it right here in the frame, and that'll kind of keep it secure if it's clean. Keeps it clean. Now we're going to go ahead and put in a full liter of oil very slowly. Very slowly. Here, going in. You can go ahead and do your whole first, whatever's left in that bottle. If you preloaded the filter, whatever's left in that 1 liter bottle, you can go ahead and very slowly pour it all the way in. For our second liter of oil, we've got 1 full liter in the bike, in the tank, and it will not hold the full 2 liters. So what we need to do is put in another 800 milliliters in, then we'll run the engine so that we can get the some of the oil into the engine and into the oil filter and stuff like that, and then we can put the rest in. But before we do that, if you've never used Motul before, this is the first time I've used this kind of oil. I want to show you real quick how do you actually open this bottle. I did not understand this. So you can pull on this red tab, and then you pull straight up, and that's what you have. You pull straight up, and it's almost like it has a little funnel on it, and then you can unscrew the red cap here. All right, so you got to remove this also. Okay, with that removed, now I'm going to put 800 milliliters in, and so with 1,000 milliliters being in 1 liter, we need a total of 200 left. So I want to right to about this line here. That's where I want to empty the bottle to, very slowly. All right, just a tiny bit more. Close enough. Okay, so should have about 200 milliliters left in the bottle. Go ahead and cap that for now. Everything's cleaned up. I've got the oil cap on, finger tight, and now I'm going to run the engine for a few minutes. You could also take the bike for a quick ride, but I'm just going to turn it on, run the engine for a few minutes. Don't think I'm in neutral. There we go. So we'll run it for a few minutes to circulate the oil. Before you start the bike, make sure that all of your drain nuts have been replaced. So your crankcase and also your oil tank, drain nut, everything's torqued. If you can torque them down, you can tighten them by hand, you know, if you're comfortable doing that, but you can also use a torque wrench. But just make sure everything's tight, all your caps are on and everything, and that oil is in your bike before you start it up. You're going to let it run for about 2 minutes to let the oil circulate into the crankcase and kind of get some of the oil out of the oil tank. And then once it's done, we'll add the rest of the oil. I just cut the bike off after letting it run for about 2 minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the rest of my oil. So you have a total of 2 liters of your motul, of your oil. And this oil is like $20, even on Amazon it's like $20 a liter, full synthetic. It is very expensive, but it is very, very, very good oil. I'm gonna make sure these threads line up properly. They're a little tricky. It's machined aluminum, so you got to make sure you get it right. If it's not going easy, it's wrong, and you got to try again. All right, so just kind of hand tight, not too tight, and that's it. That's how you change your oil on your Janus Halcyon 450, and it really is pretty easy. If you don't want to take it in to the shop, you can definitely save yourself some money. Between the oil and the filter, I think I was right at around $50 through the Janus website, but you can go on Amazon and get the parts as well. Some of these washers and O-rings and things like that, every now and then, you know, with multiple oil changes, will probably have to be replaced. But this is the first break-in oil change. Everything's in tip-top shape. One last thing before I sign off is make sure you kind of go over the bike, go over anywhere you may have dropped oil on the exhaust, under the tank there, or under the crankcase. And you can see I've got like little drips all over the place. So make sure that you just clean your exhaust real quick. You don't want the exhaust getting real hot with oil residue all over it. That's gonna do it, guys, and I thank you so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to Rev Free Moto, please consider subscribing. And remember, it is who you're becoming. That's what matters the most. God bless, and we'll see you in the next video.